Welcome to another edition of Len's Burning Bush. I am Len Harvey. Before I bring on my guest for the week, I want to talk about what's really burning my bush. So now the country is opening up. Very good news. People are traveling again, and people are getting vaccinated. And, of course, the need for get-togethers is probably at an all-time high. Been in the house too long, right? So with that in mind comes the big social media invites, right? Because we don't send them in the mail anymore. You get social media invites to any party that you want to attend. So, the ones that ask you to attend the event and RSVP, whether you're going or not going. But now there's a wild card that drives me insane. Facebook has instituted a way for people to find a nice way of saying, there is no way in hell that I am coming. Or want you to hold out. They want to hold out for something better. It's called maybe. Yes, maybe. So I personally believe maybe when we're talking about attending an event should not exist. Their only response should be either no or yes. Putting maybe just means you're holding out for that better offer, as I mentioned, or you just want to stay in the group long enough to see if there's any people that maybe, will be a little bit better if you attend it. Make it a little more attractive. Now, I would much rather you check no. And then if you realize you can come, then check yes to change. That is more than fine. The word maybe means, and I like to educate people, it means perhaps or possibly. So if you have no intention of following through to go, then just say no and don't lie to me. It's not like I'm going to have the party. I'm not going to have the party just because you say no, okay? I'm going to have it anyway. So just like Nancy Reagan once said, just say no, I'm okay with that. I'm just trying to be nice to invite you anyway, and at least stop the charade already with this maybe. There was a famous song by Carly Rae Jepsen which said, call me maybe. In the song, she maybe wanted him to call or maybe not, but they just met or something like that. I don't even know. I'm kind of a curmudgeon with that. But so with many events that I've hosted, I kind of look back and tried to do like a percentage of people who said maybe on Facebook as to whether they would be coming or not. And the majority, it was over 95% of people that said maybe didn't show up. So again, why check maybe? Okay? So too many choices for people, again, to be able to make they don't have an excuse whether or not they're going to come or not. So they want to be able to say maybe. Next, we'll start to see wedding invites with no, yes, and maybe. So maybe I'm coming, and maybe I'm going to have the fish. I don't know. So I'm going to reach out to everyone listening today. If you checked maybe on any kind of invitation on it in Facebook, why? Why did you do that? And did you wind up going to the event? I also, of course, needed to see if anyone else online felt this way. And, of course, I found an article, that's what's good about the internet, by Jasmine Nahar. She's an affiliate editor for BuzzFeed in the UK. So she wrote an article back in 2018, and you would have thought I wrote it. It says, why we all need to ditch the habit of replying maybe to Facebook invites. As I've said many times before, commit to an answer already, right? Commit to it. She goes on to say that 99% of the time it's a trash thing to do. Let's be honest, the majority of the time we all use this as a cowardly way of saying, I have absolutely no intention of going, but saying no feels awkward. If you don't, I have a sufficient excuse, or if you don't have one, if I outright say no, I'll never be invited again to another thing. Oh my goodness, the world would end if you don't get another invite. Just imagine a real life scenario of someone asking you if you can make it to their dinner party and you say, well, perhaps, or I'm keeping my options open. It seems super weird, right? And that Jasmine feels the same way. So, most of the time, I think, people are going to take the hint. If you don't reply, that's fine. You're not coming. We know that. And then as for people who say yes and then flat out don't show up, well, that's another story for another day. And those are truly awful people who warrant their own entirely different post altogether. So with that being said, it's time to bring on my guest for the week. He, of course, said yes and not maybe to the invite to be on the show. He's a radio veteran of many years, but he started when he was 5 in New York City, currently on Fox News Radio. Let's welcome Kerin McCue to Len's Burning Bush. So I just wanted to, how you doing?
Can I call you Lenny?
Absolutely. That is an endearing name. So what's funny is my real name, obviously, I have a radio name, Len Harvey, right?
Right.
So years before that, I had another name because I have my given name, and I used that. And people, from the age, it's funny, from 68 to 98, I was one, and then 98 to present, I'm this, right? So it's kind of funny. But people that know me before always called me Lenny because that's what I was known as. And then when I became Len Harvey, it was people would call me Len. But in the beginning, but as you got to know me, it became Lenny, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
So you can call me whatever you want.
I'll call you Lenny. I'll call you Lenny, Len, okay?
There you I love it. I love it. So getting back to this maybe thing, I really feel...
It's very Seinfeldian, by the way, your rant,
Well,
why maybe? Who are these people?
Who are...
Why can't they say yes? Why can't they say no? I don't know. No, it's very good.
Well,
you're absolutely right, as always.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, you and I worked together back in the day. We won't say when because it's just seems like a long time ago.
My hair was a bit darker back then.
Yeah, and mine was...
My waistline a bit narrower.
I always like to say the corporation was expanded nicely since then.
Yes.
But I like to do a Jerry Seinfeldism again. Back in those days, I had a 32-inch waist.
34 here.
I remember the episode when he faked it, when he lied on his jeans, right? That was the episode of Seinfeld when he lied on his jeans. It's and it's funny you mentioned about Jerry Seinfeld because last week Lisa Chase asked me if I could be reincarnated into a celebrity, who would that be? And I said Jerry Seinfeld was that.
Bingo.
Because I just love him. I think he's my favorite comedian of all time, and I'm a big fan of comedy. I mean, I go back, I love Robert Klein and Alan King and all the older ones. But Jerry does something that is just so brilliant. And I always lead people to this YouTube video, and I hope you've seen it if you haven't. You should. It is of him making fun of winning an award on HBO. And he talks about, because Carl Reiner was there, and he talked about comedians and the schlepping and they write, they do 2-hour performances and they write their own stuff. And he said, you don't know how hard it is to just write this, what I'm talking to you right now. And they give so much credit to actors. Meanwhile, they read a script that was written for them.
Somebody put the words in their mouth. No, you're absolutely right. People often have said to me, "Oh, you should do stand-up," and I can't imagine anything more frightening. Not so much standing up in front of people and performing, because you and I, that's what we do, but to come up with jokes on your own and run the risk of them flopping, and you're still out there. It's like being naked in public. Who wants it?
I know. You.
Sorry, no. Seinfeld, guys like him are just, that's why they are who they are. They do it so well. Did you ever see his special? Jerry Seinfeld meets Abbott and Costello?
No, I did not. I have to go back and watch
If
that.
you remember the old Abbott and Costello
I love
TV
Abbott
series in the 50s, which my kids got for me on DVD several years ago, because I wouldn't stop talking about it. It's you'd be surprised the parallels between the old Abbott and Costello TV show and Seinfeld, the program of the 90s. It's pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I think the show about nothing is kind of what I base this show on. It's kind of a show about nothing. We just talk and we reference things, and it's kind of, it's a show, right? It is. Costanza, like, that's a show. You got up this morning?
Pals sitting down talking about whatever comes up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this maybe thing, it has me, again, I get angry over silly things. I know, but if I invite you to a party, and most of the same people all the time say maybe.
Right.
If you're not coming, my late friend would say, I'm putting maybe just to annoy you because I know I'm not coming, but he knew I would always get upset at it, and he would just write maybe on it. But why do people feel the need to say maybe? Because if you're not coming, just say no.
Nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. Oh. Well, if I say no, I might hurt his feelings. And if I say yes, and then something happens that day where I can't go, I'll hurt him. So either way, I'll hurt him. So I'll just say maybe. This way, I look like a good person. That's why they say maybe. If you invited me to a party, I'm telling you right now, my answer is no.
I love it.
Let's get that out of the way, okay?
Hey, and that's fine. I'm good with that. No is fine, too.
If you're going to put me in that basement you're sitting in right now, my answer is definitely no.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have a 2,500 square foot house and your kids and your wife and your father-in-law, everybody is in rooms, and the father gets pretty much thrown to the basement.
I'm actually jealous of your basement. Your ceilings are considerably higher in the basement in my old house, and I got to walk through there like Quasimodo, just stooped over so I don't whack my noggin on some heating pipes or something. No, well done. Good basement, pal.
Well, hey, I do try, and I try
You
to,
need to start a garage band,
yeah,
a basement band.
yeah, a basement band. Yeah, I think they probably pay, was it Sing by the Window will help you out.
That'll get rid of the folks upstairs.
Well, I've been trying for a while. It doesn't seem to work. They keep coming. It's like
Crank it up.
It's like the Godfather 3. Every time I'm out, they pull me back.
Pull me back in again.
It's just crazy. But yeah, no more maybes. Stop with the nonsense. Let's have everybody, again, if you're listening to this, I really want to know. So at Lens Burning Bush on Facebook, at Lens Burning Bush on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Just send me a note and say why you feel the need to say maybe. And if you've done it, you know that you're not coming. Do you feel bad, or is it just something that you've done and you're just going to move on, right? That's the way. So we need to find that out. But anyway.
You've been told.
You and I have been around for a while, and we love music. And I don't know if you saw this, but Elton John, who is 74 years old, God bless.
Unbelievable.
And he is still going to perform. He has announced new dates for the North American and European tour for the Elton John Farewell. I love the farewell tours that happen 17 times.
Yeah, been going on for years.
Hey, they make good money, and for good reason.
Yeah.
So the Yellow Brick Tour, they announced it on Wednesday morning, the 23rd, and he's slated to go to Deutsche Bank Park in Frankfurt. He's going to start all over there. He's going to get into, I think he's going to have a gig at Dodger Stadium and some other places around. But that starts on May of next year, 2022. But Elton John is going to be...
play the Garden?
I would hope so. There are dates on the website that I didn't see about the Garden, but I think he's going to, let's see, he's going to be at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia on July 15th as well. So he might be doing some stadiums. I would imagine maybe he'll do Giant Stadium do they call it still Giant Stadium?
Whatever it is, that place over in the Meadowlands where they play football.
Yeah,
pretend to.
Yeah, the latter two-night stint will commemorate John's legendary performance at the stadium, I guess the Dodger Stadium, in October of 1975. So John said in a social media message about the epic outing that was Tour of the Year in 2020 iHeartRadio Music Awards, I'm going to go out in the biggest possible way, performing at my very best. And Elton John is just...
good for him.
He's a treasure.
First concert I ever went to.
Yeah.
First concert I saw was Elton John, 1976 at Madison Square Garden in New York. I was he was at one end of the Oval on the floor, of course, and I was at the opposite end of the Oval, as far back in the upper deck as you could be. And yet, he is such a dynamic performer. I felt like I was in the front row center. It's just wonderful. I never forgot it. One of the best shows I've ever been to. Does not disappoint.
No, and I did the dual show. I did the Billy Joel and Elton John. That's two treasures.
Oh, that must have been something.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah,
and I love Billy.
Men, right?
I've seen Billy 7 times.
Good golly, good
Billy,
for you.
Billy Joel's another one that just, he's great. Seeing him, I saw him on Long Island, which is at his home over at the
home turf.
They call it the barn now, the old barn, but Nassau Coliseum back in the day. But yeah, to see him over there. But music is something that I love dearly, and I continue to love. Everything is better with music, and I find it interesting that all of these performers. Because my wife loves to go to concerts, and she loves Def Leppard, and they're still touring, and Journey is still touring, and all of these bands, even if they change singers, it doesn't matter. They just go out and they play. Foreigners out there again, and I think they do it because the music today. And again, it's two old guys, two curmudgeons saying the music isn't what it was.
No, it isn't. Yeah. It isn't. And I know the people growing up now will say in 30 years, the music in 2050 isn't what it was in the 2020s, I'll tell you. And it won't be.
Right.
But what do they know? We know it. It's true. Our music was better.
That's right. When you see Mick Jagger performing,
Can you believe that? The guy's pushing 80.
I know. Mick Jagger, maybe Paul McCartney, put them all together and put it at Caesar's Palace and call it the Geezers at Caesar's. There you go. That's what we need to.
That's great.
That's what we need to do.
That would sell out for years.
Oh, and McCartney is still terrific.
And the cast could keep changing because there's so many of them. Yeah, the
did you?
geezers at Caesars. That's good. You should patent
Oh,
that, or
there you go.
license it or whatever.
Well, look at the stuff that I can come up with. But speaking of McCartney, did you ever see? It was about a year ago, I believe, maybe a little bit longer. Things have been just the timeline is off a little bit. But James Corden, who does that carpool karaoke stuff,
Right.
which some of it's good, some of it's not. But he actually went to England with Paul McCartney, and they did a tour around his old boyhood homes, and they went into the house where he grew up. It's a really good episode. And
That's
then
great.
it ends. They go to this pub, and all of a sudden they have him hidden behind the curtain, and people come into the pub, and all of a sudden they pull the curtain and they say, we're going to have somebody play. They think it's actually music on the speaker, and it's McCartney actually playing at the place, and he comes out and it's Paul McCartney, and all of a sudden everybody's rushing to get. People tell two friends and so on now with the phones. Yeah. They rush to get in, and McCartney's playing behind the curtain, and he signed autographs, and he couldn't have been nicer. Did you ever see
very approachable.
One other thing? Speaking of getting back to Billy Joel, he did another great show to watch is the last play at Shea. It is Shea Stadium before they tore it down.
Yeah,
Billy Joel did a documentary.
And he brought McCartney out there too.
Right, but what was interesting, what was kind of funny is you have to watch the whole documentary because McCartney was almost not going to be able to make it. So what happened was Billy had asked Paul that he wanted him to play because basically the Beatles, they were the first really to perform.
They inaugurated Shea Stadium, yeah, 66.
So McCartney, he told Billy, he said, look, I'm coming in from London, and I don't know if I can make it. So basically, what happened was McCartney wanted to make it, so he told the story to someone, and he got off the plane, and they gave him a police escort to Shea Stadium,
right. Yeah.
and basically they got him to Shea. And what was even funnier was the guy that drove him from Shea Stadium on the cart was the same guy who drove him in 1964 when they performed
Can you believe that? Isn't that something?
At Shea. And he got on and he just performed, like he got off a plane for I don't know how many hours, right? He performed one place, England, got off a plane and was flawless. How do you do that? That's brilliant.
When you're a professional, when you're the best, they make it look easy, which we know it is not.
No.
But, that's why they are still around. God bless them. My late sister-in-law, Madeline, was from Manchester, England, and she and her girlfriends would go see the Beatles at the old Cavern Club in Liverpool, where they started out. So, and then, strange as it may seem, her husband, my brother Terry, was in the Army in the early 60s. He was stationed in Germany. And he happened to arrive at a barracks in Frankfurt not long after Elvis had left. Elvis was in the Army, and he was sent home after his stint in the Army was up. And so Elvis had lived in the same barracks that my brother was bivouacked in, bunked in, whatever they say. And then his buddies would get weekend passes and go up to Hamburg, and they'd come back and tell him these great stories of this band they saw up in Hamburg. You got to go see him. So my brother gets a weekend pass finally, and he and his buddies go up to Hamburg to see this group in concert. And as it turned out, it was that weekend in February 1964 when the Beatles came to New York to play the Ed Sullivan Show. So my brother never got to see the Beatles perform live, but he was sandwiched in between Elvis and the Fab Four, which is a pretty good claim to fame, I think.
That is fantastic. That is a great story. And I bet you haven't told that story very often recently. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that maybe you reminded me of.
Well, I tried to remind, and McCartney and the Beatles.
And you stayed awake throughout the whole telling of it, so that's good. Then.
Exactly. No promises on the audience, but we're good. So have you ever? I'm going to shift gears a little bit from music because we love music. We can talk about it all day. But have you ever played fantasy sports at all? Have you ever done like football, baseball, basketball? Okay, so I have.
Yeah.
I have, and there's been some crazy prizes.
I was always the guy picked for a team after the last guy got picked for a team.
Right.
All right, we'll take Kerin.
Yeah.
I'm that bad. I can't
Well,
hit a ball. I can't
maybe
kick a
you've
ball. I
never
can't
played
throw a
sports,
ball.
but I was talking about fantasy sports.
Oh, I'd probably be even worse at
Yeah,
those.
that's basically you take a team from football and baseball, you draft, and you do all that stuff. But
Yeah, I
what?
never figured it out. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway,
more power to you.
yes. So I've done it many times, and I've done it for years. And there's always been some weird prizes for either the first place winner or even the last place winner. There's been some trophies. There's been a show on TV called The League. I don't know if you've seen that. But anyway, I found this to be very interesting. So a Clarion Ledger reporter, Lee Sanderlin, spent 15 hours in a Waffle House to serve his fantasy football punishment of finishing in last place. He had to spend 15 hours and he had to sit there. It was in Mississippi. And he tweeted during the whole ordeal on this. It was kind of funny. I saw it. The tweets went viral because he needed some antacid tablets after he was eating. I don't know if you've ever eaten at the Waffle House. You got to love the grits and the waffles and all of the things. But
in fact, I have a great niece who's a district manager of 7 or 8 Waffle Houses in southern Georgia.
yeah, love.
She's on the up and coming trajectory there in the company.
Well, they all thought it was completely moronic for him to have to do this, but they did keep the waffles, the coffee, and the water coming, and they were pretty cheery about it. But, you know, he sat down around 4:07 and ordered some waffles and some syrup and butter, and he crushed them, and he kept getting more and more and more. And he started to feel that lukewarm mush that we all feel after we take every bite and we've eaten way too much and we've gone that way. But imagine finishing last in your fantasy league, and the punishment isn't a trophy of an ass or whatever, but you have to spend 15 hours.
Yeah, that's a bit longer than,
yeah.
than I'd like to spend.
Yeah.
No offense to my niece, but yeah.
Yeah. The column appeared, I don't know if you can find it, but it's in the Mississippi Clarion Ledger, and you can follow Lee O. Sanderlin, that's Sanderlin, on Twitter. And that is, I thought that was a great story. So imagine, and I love the Waffle House. I mean, if you've seen the movie Tin Cup, they always go to the Waffle House there. So that was kind of but people who live in New York and New Jersey, they don't always know that the Waffle House was kind of something that when I moved to Kentucky, that I figured out. That
they only have them as far north as Pennsylvania, I've been told.
Yeah.
It's like trying to find a Cracker Barrel in New York. You got to go up to Fishkill, I think, to find the nearest Cracker Barrel around here.
And you know what's great about those places? They're all the same when you get in there, right? They've got the little store,
and the antiques and all that kind of stuff.
And they keep the coffee coming, and the the biscuits and the gravy and the other stuff. It's Cracker Barrel is definitely a good place as well. Waffle House. So we've worked in the industry for a long time. We never there's even people that have done split shifts, which. Yeah. You've done.
That's murder.
Murder.
That's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
But how would you feel about changing the work week from 5 days to 4 days? There's been a major thing going on where people want to do instead, because Americans typically spend way too much time at work. I remember seeing a meme this week.
Too much time commuting to work, as you said before.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I saw a meme this week. It was kind of funny. It said Europeans posting, "I'll be on vacation for the summer. I'll email you back in September." and then Americans
to be a Frenchman.
Yes, and Americans will type similar thing, right? They'll type, "I'm going to be having surgery in the morning, but you can reach me on my cell phone later on that afternoon.
I should be back in the office next day.
I should be back in the office later on. Make sure you call my cell phone." But
I'm all for a 4-day work week. You know what else I'm all for? When the pandemic began, as you mentioned earlier, I'm a news anchor for Fox News Radio Network. Great job, great people, a lot like the Metro days, with kind of people I work with and atmosphere. We, of course, as everybody in the industry, had to work from home. They reinvented the wheel basically at the beginning of this pandemic a year ago, March, and we all got microphones, and of course we all had home computers, and we got instructions from the engineering department how to set it all up, and that's kind of what you can see in the background here. That's my mic, but I've been doing the news from my an old bedroom in my house that's been converted into a Fox. I call it the Fox News Radio Yonkers Bureau, and it's been working out fine. Everybody their work output and the quality of the output is as good as it is down on 6th Avenue in our multi-million-dollar Fox News studios. So they say we're going to come back. They're going to bring us all back beginning in September. I kind of hope they give us an option to either stay home or go in, because I'd really like to keep working from home. The ideal commute: I get out of bed, I take a shower, I walk down the hall, and I'm here. Um, yeah, no,
You,
it's amazing what they figured out tech wise. I mean, this would have been an ideal setup for you back in the day when you were commuting all the way from God's country into
yeah.
the city to do your metro traffic split shifts.
Oh,
So,
it's
can you
crazy.
imagine if you've been able to do it from home?
Well, it's great. And you know, it's funny. I talked to Tina Lang about this, and
Right.
she was one of the first to actually use the ISDN line at home to do PLJ in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because she was, you know, she had kids, and
Exactly.
it was kind of interesting how to do it. So that was back in
That was
1997,
really
98. Yeah.
radical.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those years ago.
And now we're all working from home, and I, you know, it's tough. You know, my coworkers are not always as nice at home as they were when you know,
But the coffee's better.
the coffee is definitely better. We do have the Nespresso. I don't know if you, you know, George Clooney makes a good cup of coffee, and
Okay.
the Nespresso maker is definitely, but it's kind of it's a niche thing because you have to order it from them to get the coffee, and it does
Yeah.
come miraculously after you pay about $100. It does come, the coffee. So if you like Nespresso,
Worth every dollar.
well, no, it is. The coffee
Yeah.
is much better. So it's. But this article I saw, Joe Pinsker wrote on the 17th of June, and he talked about getting to a 4-day work week because it. You know, apparently most people are. You know, we live in a society in which overwork is treated as a badge of honor, and that's according to Alex
Yeah.
Sunjong Kimpang.
Who made that up?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not a badge of honor. It's like we feel like we
No.
overwork. But I think what happens is you know, you get a 40-hour work week, and we work the 40 hours, right? We're not going to
Yeah.
skimp on
Right.
it. But if you said, hey, 35 hours, we'd fit it into 4 days, it would be more than enough. And I think what happens now, and I've said this, nobody takes vacations anymore. I know when I have days off, I'm constantly getting emails and phone calls, and
Oh, there's no escape.
No, and I respond, and
No.
it's nice when you just put the phone in the drawer and just
Yeah.
go away. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody
Nah,
takes vacations. It's a time when I think we need to do it, and
work
I don't
follows you everywhere you go. You know, it's like everybody's a brain surgeon, has to be on call 24/7. I'll tell you something else that was a badge of honor that I'll bet you now that the pandemic is on its way out for good. Let's hope. People showing up at work sick. Remember the guys
Yeah.
going to go, I feel like crap,
Yeah.
but I had to come in today.
Yeah.
And we shared studios.
I know.
You know,
There were-
you take the mic sock off and the guy left and take it in the men's room and wash it
Oh.
out, you know, or just throw the darn thing away. Yeah, so I think the badge of honor coming in work while sick is going to go the way of the 5-day work week too, let's hope.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how, you know, you always look at things in a positive way. You know, you have a pandemic, and, you know, people have created things during the pandemic, and they've worked differently. Like I started the podcast here during the
Yeah.
pandemic because I figured, you know, it's something to look forward to. So there's always some positive. There's always that silver lining that, you know, the good stuff that came out of the pandemic were, hey, you know, maybe you don't always have to go into the office. You can get the same stuff done. I would prefer that you don't work from home every single day of the year. I know
Yeah.
I was working always in sales. I worked from home long before it was cool to do it because I don't have a real office to go to. It's in Maryland, and, you know, I'm not going to go to Maryland every day. But I like to travel, and I never thought, because when you're traveling as in sales, when you travel, you don't think of it as this is great when you're doing it. But when you don't do it for a year, God, I miss that hotel bar by myself, Karen. I really do. I mean, the things you miss because
Yeah.
you don't realize that. And also the windshield time of just kind of decompressing. You seem like when you're working from home, you're always on the clock. It
Yeah.
never goes away. The mind is always thinking. And when you get in the car and you go, you kind of, you know, unplug for a little bit. Maybe you listen to some music, or you're thinking of something, and that's going to be, I would think, hopefully coming back.
I hope so.
Yeah, and that would
I
make it a
kind of
little bit
like
better.
not having to drive everywhere when the first several months of the pandemic. I mean, how often did you change the oil in your car last year? You know?
Funny story, you brought it up.
Yeah,
I just changed the oil for the
yeah.
first time in over a year
Isn't that
on my
great?
car.
The
And
guy at Jiffy Lube
yeah,
probably thought you forgot about it.
it was like he was sending me cards.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
okay? He was
right.
he was looking at whatever. But no, I
Yeah.
thought of that. I was like, I normally ride because I do it for work. I like 15, 20,000 miles a year, and I did a little over 5,000 in like 15 months.
It's great.
It's just yeah, it's
Yeah.
because you keep the car a little bit longer doing it that way. But I do like
Yes,
to
you
drive,
do.
and it's
I do too, but
yeah.
it just the things that we just did so much of, maybe we don't really have to do that much. Of
No,
it, you know?
maybe the hustle and bustle needs to go away. We just need to relax, right?
Just the hustle. Forget the bustle, okay?
Yeah, I
I
like
never
it.
liked the bustle anyway.
No, I don't. I don't like the. I don't even know why I said that. To be honest,
Why the hustle?
Why the-
Who wants a bustle?
who-
What is a bustle?
who are these people?
Who
Why?
are these people? Why do they all have bustles?
Oh, I love it. I love this, Kerin, because this is fun. I mean, we worked together back in the Metro days, and we that time that we've spent 20 years ago or so is in my mind all the time because there's so many good stories. We and even get-togethers. We had Christmas parties and other
Oh,
parties
yeah.
and food eating and
Yeah.
what was great.
People bringing stuff in,
Yeah.
somebody bringing a box of donuts,
Yeah.
and no, it was a nice time. There were good people. It was my first radio gig in New York City. I
Yep, mine
worked
too.
in the suburbs or out of state before then. And Danny Toy called me out of the blue one day. We had worked together years earlier. In fact, he remembered me, number one. He remembered me in a positive way. It's
Wow.
even better. Anyway, so I got the gig and didn't know. I was a month shy of my 40th birthday, and I felt like the old man because most people that I was working with were in their, like yourself, were in their 20s at the time. And I wonder if they were looking down at the old guy here, sort of thing. But people couldn't have been nicer. People like Heather O'Rourke and Meredith Daniels, people who you've had on your show, Lori Blanchard. I mean, they just all treated me and so kindly, and were so eager to help me whenever I had run into a brick wall, which I did a lot. But they got me going, got me steady on my feet, and before you know it, I just felt like one of the team.
Yeah,
It was a good time.
It was
5 years, and it was 5 of the best years working wise that I've ever had.
Yeah, I
It was
had
the people,
3.
the people that made it. Yeah.
I had 3 years, and then I moved to Cincinnati to run an office because of Danny Toy and Gordon Deal, and
Right.
I moved to
That's
Cincinnati.
why you left.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
didn't
became a
know why
DO. I became a DO in
Okay.
Cincinnati. So I took my talents not to South Beach, but to Cincinnati, Ohio. That was the
Good for you.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
hence, there you go. It's all good.
And
Now
you're still there.
I'm still there. We could do this all day. I think we could. And you can like Lens Burning Bush on Facebook at Lens Burning Bush. You can follow at Lens Burning Bush on Twitter. Make sure you get your comments in this week on the episode. We also have a YouTube channel now, Kerin. You can it's Len Harvey and then hashtag Lens Burning Bush, and I load the audio portion of today's broadcast gets loaded into YouTube. So make sure you hit, what's that? How does it go? Did the kids say? You hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bar on YouTube so that you get notified when every time we have a new audio video on it. The
Teaching
kids.
us how to speak all over again.
Absolutely. You can
The
listen
noise.
you can listen on iTunes. We are on Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio. You can even ask Alexa if you have one of those in your house. Make sure you do say Lens Burning Bush podcast, because I don't know what comes up when you just say Lens Burning Bush. So
And you don't want to know.
No, you don't want to know. Just make
And
sure
make sure
you
the kids aren't in the room when you do.
Exactly. We are on
Or
Pandora.
your mom.
Yeah.
Ah!
We are on Stitcher and Pandora also. So make sure you follow these episodes. We do them every week, and we try
You
to
are
bring
everywhere.
all these
You are
places.
Uberman.
Uber. Yes. I'm here to pump you up. We have
It's Uberman.
64 episodes, and you're the 64th. And what's that Beatles song? When I'm 64.
I just turned 64, so I think this is fortuitous that you chose me as number 64.
I love that
Thanks
you
for
said.
reminding me I'm 64.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You only act 34, so that's yeah.
Oh, good.
Hey,
I've
Bill.
been told
Hey, Bill.
14 by my wife.
Wow.
So
she appreciates it. We're all 14 when it comes to our wives, so it's all because we're just child. We do things. We're children, and we want to stay that way. We want to enjoy it. But Kerin McCue, you stay safe and healthy because it's been fun talking to you again.
Giving me the brush off, eh?
Well, we have
Show
other
me the door.
we
eh?
we have other things that we do on this day,
do.
and you do too because you don't want to spend another But I appreciate you coming on the show.
This has been fun. It's nice catching up with you.
It has been, and let's not be strangers anymore. I know we do social media and we talk on there, but this is so much better to actually. People don't talk anymore, Kerin. They don't talk.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, thanks.
Good talking to you, Len.
Thanks,
Lenny,
Kerin McCue.
whatever the heck
I don't even know.
Everybody call you Leonard?
Leonard? Yes.
Leonard?
When I'm bad or my creditors. Yes, exactly. But I'm Len Harvey. We'll be back with another episode of Len's Burning Bush next week. So long.